beginning with one person. I don't know if you guys remember the first man that he promised that he would build a nation from.
Abraham.
Yeah, you guys know it. Okay, so Abraham was called from the land of Ur. Yeah, that's right. He was Abram first. So you can see there's Ur on the map. And so on, see where it's like just a little R. And you can see how he would have traveled to get to Canaan. Canaan is over here in this area, so it's quite the traveling.
Yeah.
And you'll see,
right on my foot.
What's this place here, down here?
Egypt.
So a lot of the Bible stories involve Egypt. You can see how the land of Egypt is close to Canaan in a way. And so I just wanted you guys to kind of picture where Canaan was and where Egypt is from this story.
It would be even farther away because Abraham went to Osir because of a war, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did a lot of traveling. Okay, so this story is called God Calls Abram.
How many stories do we have?
We have 4 today.
How many times did he tell you?
Okay, so Abraham was a descendant of Noah's son, Shem. So remember, Noah had the 3 sons. Abram lived in a place called Ur with his wife, Sarai, who was not able to have any children. Let's listen carefully. Now God spoke to Abram and told him to leave his country and everything he knew and go to the land that God would show him. God made a promise to Abram. He said he would bless him and make him into a great nation. He would make Abram's name great, and everyone would know who Abram was. Everyone that blessed Abram would be blessed, and everyone that cursed Abram would be cursed, which means that if people did good things for Abram, they would get good things. And if they did bad things to Abram, let's listen carefully, okay? If they did bad things to Abram, they'd get bad things in return. And the last part of the promise was this. God said that in Abram, all the families of the whole earth would be blessed. So Abram obeyed God's command, and he set out for the new land that God promised to show him. He took his wife, Sarai, and his nephew. Anyone remember what his nephew's name was, by any chance?
Lot.
That's right. Abram took his nephew Lot with him as well. He was 75 years old when he left. Remember little Ur on the map? When he left that place. And after they journeyed, they arrived in the land of Canaan. And that's where God appeared to Abram. Actually appeared to him. And he said, to your descendants, I will give this land. And Abram built an altar to the Lord God, and he worshipped him in that place. Now there was a severe famine in the land at this time. So Abram traveled down to Egypt where there was food. And Sarai, his wife, was very beautiful. And Abram worried that the Egyptians might kill him and take Sarai for themselves to become their own wife. And so he asked Sarai to pretend that she was his sister instead of his wife. And then, sure enough, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, heard about Sarai's beauty. And he took Sarai for himself and brought her to be his palace, to be his wife. And Pharaoh treated Abram well, and he sent him sheep and cattle, donkeys, camels, and even servants. But God sent sickness and diseases on Pharaoh and his family. So he sent Sarai back to Abram, and he said, why didn't you tell me she was your wife? And he commanded Abram to take his wife and leave Egypt. So Abram and Sarai and their nephew Lot returned to that southern part of Canaan. They had grown rich by this time with gold and silver and many other possessions. In fact, there were so many flocks and herds and tents, they couldn't all live together in one area. So Abram and Lot at that time separated their belongings and they parted ways. And we'll learn about the story, more about the story of Abram on a separate week. So this is where we'll pause and get our narration time. And so, to start us off, I did have a really beautiful picture from 1850 by Joseph Molnar. So, There are so many beautiful paintings from Bible art when you look online, and this one's just a beautiful one. There's actually I couldn't find too many of Abram journeying, but this one's very well painted. So, to start us back off to where the beginning of the story was that there was a man, a descendant of Shem, and his name was Abram, and he lived in a place called Ur. So, Finn, would you like to volunteer to start off? Not this time, alright, you won't start us off. We'll give him a chance.
You're blushing red.
Alright, so what happened from there? Abram's living in Ur. Yeah.
And then God spoke to him and said, you guys will have a son. You guys will have a child, but you must leave to Canaan.
He wanted him to leave his home in Ur, and he wanted you to bring him to Canaan. That's right, God. Then so what happened?
There was a famine.
There was a famine. Thank you. Yeah, there was a famine when they reached Canaan.
So they traveled down to Egypt.
Okay, good. You're remembering. What happened in Egypt? Do you remember?
And Abraham said to Sarah to pretend that she was his sister.
That's right. He wanted his wife to pretend he was his sister. Do you remember why? Or do you want to add?
Then he gave him gold and silver and cows and sheep.
That's right. That's right. The Pharaoh gave him all those different things, and you were going to say why did he want him or her to pretend?
Because she was very pretty.
She was very pretty, and was he afraid of?
He was afraid that somebody might take her.
That's right. That someone might take her for their life. So he chose to pretend. And so you had just shared about how he was given all sorts of things, right? All sorts of gifts. And then what happened?
Pharaoh took Sarah.
That's right,
for
Pharaoh.
his wife.
He took her as for his wife.
But then God sent sickness and disease on Pharaoh and his family, so Pharaoh sent Sarah back to him.
That's right. She was sent back. Yeah.
And then they went to the southern part of Canaan.
That's right. Then they left. They were booted out of Egypt, right? They went back to the southern part of Canaan and settled down. Oh yeah, there was one more little part. Once they got back, Abram,
And
Sarah.
Abram and Lot separated their belongings.
That's right. They separated all their belongings. Why? Do you guys remember why?
Because
They couldn't keep all their stuff.
That's right. They couldn't keep all their stuff. Why not? Why couldn't they keep all their stuff?
there wasn't enough room.
There wasn't enough room where they were.
In the whole place, there wasn't enough room.
Where they were living, yeah, it was just too tight, so they had to separate and spread out.
What
That's
about
how
they
much
just
stuff they had.
What about they just put 15 people in that tent?
Who knows why? It was different living then. So.
That depends on how big the tents are, though. Well, if the tent was as big as this living room, we could probably fit like 20.
That's true. All right. Well, thank you guys.